Okay, let's unpack this. We have been handed a truly fascinating stack of source material today, detailing a world where magic is absolutely real.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
primary threats are literal botanical nightmares, and the person who ends up saving the day is the last one anyone, especially the cranky immortal wizard tasked with protection expected.
He really did not see her coming.
Not at all. We're plunging headlong into a unique narrative universe where the traditional rules of magical engagement are constantly being rewritten by a girl who, prefers singing to chanting.
Indeed. Our mission here is to perform a deep dive into this world, specifically the Valley of Palmia, focusing on the rules of magic, the corrosive nature of corruption, and the characters who find themselves caught between a profoundly demanding immortal wizard
Known simply as the
and the
dragon.
dragon, yes, and
Um,
a malicious spreading forest, the wood. We'll be looking intensely at the journey of Agnieszka, the girl unexpectedly chosen, and how her completely unorthodox path fundamentally challenged the established, codified wisdom of how to fight an ancient, deeply rooted evil.
this is such a rich set of sources. It weaves together fairy tale structure with this really deep, complex, magical philosophy. We're essentially analyzing a secret, critical history of the valley, focusing on the dragon's tenure and the crisis that followed.
Exactly.
For you, the listener, this deep dive will be an absolute shortcut to understanding the core dynamics at play. The chilling ritual of the taking, the precise price of protection, the crucial world-shaping difference between wild and codified magic, and perhaps most surprisingly, the true emotional identity of the enemy.
And that identity is a huge reveal.
It changes everything. So let's start with the setting, because you can't really understand the sacrifice without first understanding the scale of the threat.
You have to start with the wood.
So we start in Polnya, in a small valley, living under the shadow of a truly malevolent entity known simply as the wood. It is the defining, terrifying feature of life here.
You really can't overstate how terrifying the wood is. I mean, it's not just a forest. It's described as a solid, dark, physical wall of trees at the edge of the kingdom. A wall, yeah. And it's separated from the valley only by a sickly, pale, gray strip of burned earth. A constant visible line of defense and fear that just looms over every aspect of daily life. It's the ultimate symbol of the danger.
And its danger is so much more than just, wolves or bears. It's profound and memorable, and it leaves scars that last for generations.
Oh, definitely.
The source material details these specific historical events that haunt the villagers, and the big one is the Green Summer.
Green summer. Chillin' stuff.
And this wasn't some pleasant agricultural boom. It was when a hot wind carried pollen from the wood far into the valley, causing crops, wheat, vegetables, everything to grow furiously lush, but strange and misshapen.
And what's truly chilling about the Green Summer is that the corruption wasn't just physical or agricultural. It was psychological and spiritual warfare.
Right.
Anyone who ate those unnaturally vibrant, misshapen crops grew instantly sick with anger. They would strike violently at their families and neighbors, exhibiting this deep, self-destructive rage.
And then they just run.
They'd run. Ultimately, if they weren't tied down immediately, they ran straight into the wood to vanish forever. The memory of that event, the never-ending bite of hunger that drove people mad, that profoundly shaped the community's absolute willingness to accept the dragons, while profoundly disturbing price for protection.
The fear is also compounded by the constant active physical horrors the wood generates. I mean, the creatures are unforgettable.
They really are.
We hear about snow mares
Horses made of compacted, corrupted snow and branch.
and shambler vines. The sources describe those vines as capable of swallowing 4 houses on the edge of a village overnight, just moving with an eerie, quiet determination.
And then there are the walkers.
Ugh, the walkers.
Dreadful twig-like creatures, animated stick figures that snatch people like ripe fruit from the trees. It's a horrifying image.
It really is.
The wood's malice operates on multiple scales, so corruption can be subtle like, just breathing the air inside the wood's shadow can leave a trace.
Or it can be immediate.
Or immediate, right, like a wolf-bitten cow turning instantly vicious and attacking its herd. It's an active, conscious, and highly effective predator that seeks to corrupt not just the body, but the soul and the mind, turning the things you rely on, your food, your animals, your neighbors, against you.
This overwhelming, constant threat leads directly to the bargain made with the dragon, Sarkhan.
Right.
He is an immortal wizard whose sole duty is to protect the valley and the kingdom from this malice. His tower is a solitary piece of white chalk, totally out of place, stuck into the western mountains. It really symbolizes his distance.
And it's important to note the sources immediately tackle the sensational rumor.
Oh, yeah.
The dragon does not perform human sacrifice in the common sense, though what he does is, profoundly cruel in its own way.
In a different way yet.
He is a man and a lord, but a distant, cold, and terrible one. He certainly doesn't seek the villagers' love. The narrator, Agnieszka, she contrasts his demands with those of the local nobility, like the Baron of the Yellow Marshes, who levies constant work and takes sons for his army.
Right, the dragon's demand is singular, it's horrific, but it's predictable.
Exactly. His taking ritual is very specific. Every 10 years, he takes one girl.
And the consequence is immediate and absolute. The girls never want to come back. They forget how to live here. It's this painful excision from the community.
A total removal.
But because of the green summer and the constant threat of the wood, this is a price the villagers find necessary, especially since his magic is genuinely effective at keeping the corruption at bay. He is the kingdom's shield.
And that detail you brought up about his lifestyle is critical to understanding Sarkhan's character. He doesn't maintain an army or even a staff of servants beyond the girl he takes.
Right.
His only extravagance was books. He would pay absurd amounts of gold for a single great tome.
Which, weirdly, had this positive side effect.
It did, paradoxically. This created an unexpected benefit. Book peddlers, already making the arduous trip for Sarkhan, would fill their saddlebags with cheaper stock for the locals, meaning the valley villagers became surprisingly well-read.
Wait, hold on. So this terrifying, aloof, immortal wizard's big hobby is just collecting rare scholarly books.
Yep.
And in doing so, he accidentally fosters a well-read peasant community. That is a fantastic contradiction.
It is.
It confirms he's driven by knowledge and control, not cruelty, even if his methods are brutal.
That's the key insight into Sarkhan. He is profoundly isolated and distant, motivated by the pursuit of rigorous knowledge, and this singular intellectual pursuit created an indirect, unintended cultural benefit for the community he kept at arm's length.
So now let's move to the main event.
The ceremony.
The choosing. The choosing year culminates in this feast, where the eligible girls, including Agnieszka and her best friend Kazia, stand in a line to be inspected. And everyone, including Agnieszka's family, expected Kazia to be chosen.
Kazia was prepared for this. She had trained diligently, demonstrating her beauty, her practical nature.
She even mastered that complicated, difficult senkosh cake.
Right, the senkosh cake detail, which is this complex, layered treat requiring patience and skill. It underscores Kazia's effort. It wasn't just about appearance. It was about proving she possessed the domestic competence and grace suitable for a sophisticated life.
Meanwhile, Agnieszka arrives feeling awkward with mud stains on her skirt.
Of course.
The twist, as we know, is that Sarkhan chooses Agnieszka. He interrupts the head woman Danka, who is mid-sentence, and only asks Agnieszka her name with a cold frown.
And the moment itself is just steeped in Agnieszka's terror.
Total terror. And it's rooted in the common village rumor that the dragon forces himself on the girls, confusing the taking with sexual servitude.
But the source material immediately pushes back on that narrative. We find this crucial nugget, a note left by a previous girl.
I won't touch you.
He won't touch you. He will only want you to make yourself handsome. The true motive, discovered later in the analysis of the sources, reveals something far more chilling than personal malice. It's clinical magical engineering.
Let's delve into that engineering. It turns out the girls were used as a living temporary channel to siphon the valley's inherent power. Why does he need this siphon?
Well, Sarkhan feared being bound. He needed their inherent connection to the valley's power to siphon away some of the wood's strength, essentially keeping the wood at bay without establishing his own deep magical roots in the area.
So he didn't want to get stuck there.
Exactly. Sarkhan's greatest fear, as a high wizard, was being restricted, tied down, or rooted like the very trees he fought. His strategy was based on mobility and detachment, and the girls were simply tools to facilitate that detachment.
It was cold, but not sexually predatory.
Right, and this brings us right to the core conflict, the magic systems.
So Sarkhan's decision to take Agnieszka, despite his clear disappointment, it sets up the central philosophical conflict of the story. Agnieszka's surprising magical talent is the absolute inverse of the dragon's long-established, rigid, and codified methods.
And Sarkhan's initial assessment is brutal. When she arrives at the tower, he judges her based on his established criteria: cleanliness, order, and scholarly aptitude.
And she fails on all counts.
Miserably. He labels her immediately as a truly remarkable paragon of incompetence, the dirtiest thing in this tower, and notes with disdain that she is not a splendid cook.
His attempts to train her fail miserably, too. And these failures, they really define the two systems. He tries to teach her these precise, controlled spells, miserable cantrips, like vanastalum,
Right, the cleaning spell.
which is meant to clean her and put her into these beautiful but highly restrictive court dresses. For Agnieszka, these codified spells are agonizing. They drag strength out of her and leave her tired.
Because they force her intuition into a structure it was never meant to hold. That's the philosophical difference in action. Sarkhan's codified magic is built on control, Latinate nomenclature, precise annotation, and academic structure. It treats magic as a dangerous external force that must be contained and mastered through rigorous intellectual discipline.
And Agnieszka's body just actively rebels against this external control.
It does.
Yet, we know strange things have always happened around her. The sources are clear this power isn't new. Kajia recalls that even when they were young, Agnieszka would find fruit out of season, and that pines told her stories.
The world seemed to favor her in these small, unpredictable ways.
Yeah, Kaji even provides a physical observation of this wildness. She says, "You couldn't get so dirty if you tried, and I knew you weren't trying. I saw a branch reach out and snag your skirt once, really just reach out."
It's as if nature itself was trying to claim her long before the wood did. And the revelation for Agnieszka is that she is resistant to the dragon's teachings because his magic is too rigid, too dependent on external structures.
She describes it physically.
She does, like strange clockwork on the middle of his table, all shining moving parts. His system demands precision, while her power demands fluidity.
Her successful magic, conversely, is intuitive. It's based on feeling and simple, friendly words. She manages to reduce the cumbersome, draining spell vanastalum into vanillum, just to change her restrictive gown into a comfortable local letnik.
And why did that work?
She felt the shorter word was smaller and more friendly. Crucially, this intuitive, messy magic is sustainable. It doesn't drain her horribly. It feels like a partnership.
The contrast is brilliant. Sarkhan sees magic as a mathematical formula. Agnieszka sees it as a conversation with the natural world.
And this is perfectly demonstrated when she tries to align her magic with his during a shared working.
Right, he's trying to perform a complex analytical defense spell.
And Agnieszka envisions his magic as a powerful, controlled mill's water wheel, and hers as the wild flowing stream that feeds it.
And what happens when the mill wheel tries to contain the stream?
Chaos. They accidentally conjure a riot of uncontrolled, beautiful nature. Vines climbing the bookshelves, birches rising from the floor, moss and flowers erupting everywhere.
It's completely uncontrolled and astonishing to Sarkhan. This isn't just a failure. It's proof that her raw, generative power, when channeled, is immense, but operates completely outside his system of rigid control.
So after this, Sarkhan is forced to offer his real justifications for taking her.
First, the bureaucratic one.
Right. Those with the gift must be taught. The King's Law requires it. The King's Law demands control over magic users, presumably to prevent them from becoming threats or, being corrupted.
But the second reason is the profound, terrifying truth that validates Sarkhan's strategy.
Yeah.
He states plainly that it would have been idiotic of me to leave you sitting there like a ripe plum and something came along out of the wood and ate you and made itself into a truly remarkable horror.
Which confirms the wood actively seeks out raw, powerful, untaught magic, the kind Agnieszka possesses, to corrupt and weaponize it.
Effectively turning her into a sorcerer's bomb aimed back at the kingdom. And we return to the reason for the girls in the first place. They were an emergency measure to keep Sarkhan from being bound. He needed their inherent connection to the valley's power to siphon away some of the wood's strength, thus keeping the wood at bay without establishing his own deep roots.
He was protecting his mobility.
If he rooted himself, he feared he would lose his ability to fight, becoming a stationary, predictable target. His detachment was a self-defense mechanism that also served the kingdom.
So Agnieszka's formal training is a failure, but her real-world test starts when she's forced to act alone.
Yes.
Her unplanned departure from the tower marks a major turning point. It forces her to apply her unpredictable intuitive magic in a real-world crisis, which in turn reveals the limitations of Sarkhan's codified knowledge.
The call for help is dramatic. Beacons light up the Valley Nine in a straight line, following the Spindle River, with the 9th signaling Dvernik, her home village, is under direct attack.
And Sarkhan is gone.
He's gone, dealing with the Chimera far away, and she must ride back alone. When she arrives, she is met not with relief, but with fear and suspicion. The villagers assume she abandoned her duty and ran away.
The threat she faces at home is immediate and visceral. It's not a monstrous invasion yet, but a subtle, localized outbreak of corruption.
Right. Wolf-bitten cattle have gone vicious, and her neighbor, Jersey, is suffering from the wood sickness.
He's described as laughing horribly and thrashing with an unnatural strength, trying to get free and run into the trees.
Her response is pure improvisation and strategy. Agnieszka's first major magical defense isn't a complex spell, but the application of a physical item, using a fire heart potion.
A magical brew often used in the tower's hearths.
Exactly. And she uses it to strategically burn the corrupted cattle in a fire break, saving the rest of the herd and the village from spread. She uses the simple, practical mending charm twice during this ordeal, not for glory, but simply to reinforce the fences.
Is practical, grounded magic. But the climax of this immediate crisis is her attempt to cure Jersey, the corrupted neighbor. Traditional purging methods, likely based on Sarkin's stringent Latinate methods, have failed.
So she has to rely on her instinct.
Completely. She uses a cleansing spell based on a simple, repetitive, song-like rhyme she learned from the tower kitchens. Puhas, puhas, kai puhas.
A charm traditionally used for untying hopelessly snarled knots of thread.
Exactly.
That's fascinating. So it's not a battle cry, it's a song of unbinding.
Yes.
The idea that she can cure a deep spiritual knot of corruption using a charm designed to fix tangled embroidery threads highlights the genius of her magic. It works because it's simple, intuitive, and driven by a need to gently untangle, not forcefully purge.
This song-like magic works where Sarkin's structured Latinate purges might fail because they're just too aggressive.
But the wood is immediately aware of this successful intervention. It retaliates violently. White wolves.
Described as unnaturally large and tactical, definitely not the local gray wolves.
Right. And the sources note they exhibit unnatural intelligence, figuring out how to lift a bar on a stable door.
And Sarkin arrives at this point in a truly desperate magical state.
He is forced to use the ancient, terrifying stone spell Zokinen Volisu, Akenez Hinisu, Kozone Volisu to save them, turning the attacking wolves instantly to stone.
And he confirms it was a trap.
He does. He confirms that the wood had employed a trap. It used the distant chimera to keep him occupied until the corruption in Vernic was fully set, maximizing the potential spread.
He saves Agnieszka, too, from the subtle corruption she had breathed in, simply by being under the wood's shadow while fighting. He uses this harrowing, fiery, purging spell. A long, slow, painful chant. The description of this is visceral.
It is. Sarkin's purging is not gentle. It is an internal, fiery torment described as a long, painful procedure meant to burn out every trace of the contamination.
He even tells her.
He does. He notes to Agnieszka that if he had stopped sooner, the subtle corruption, the quicksilver trace of the shadows, would have curled up deep in her veins, taken root, and killed her later. This demonstrates Sarkin's core understanding of corruption. It must be annihilated completely.
But wait, hold on. If Agnieszka's cleaning spell, Puhas, worked on Jersey, why didn't Sarkin use a gentler technique on her?
That's a brilliant point.
Doesn't this show his immediate inability to trust her methods, even when they've just been proven effective?
I think so. Sarkin's system is based on elimination, zero tolerance for contamination. He has 20 years of failed attempts to cure deep corruption weighing on him, so when it comes to the person he needs to protect, he defaults to the only method he knows that guarantees immediate, absolute cleansing, even if it's torturous.
He's prioritizing safety through annihilation over gentleness through intuition. So this close call inspires Agnieszka to study magic furiously, trying to understand what she did intuitively. But she realizes Sarkin's rigid books full of precise annotations and rigid instructions are mostly useless to her. They feel dead.
Which leads to Sarkin making the ultimate admission of the limits of codified magic.
Reluctantly.
Oh, very reluctantly. He reveals his most valuable, yet infuriatingly incomplete resource. A dusty book written by the ancient, time-wandering witch Jaga.
The sources confirm Jaga was officially dead and buried 500 years ago.
But she casually turned up at a prince's baptism only 40 years prior, announcing, "I've fallen out of time." She is an unpredictable, powerful symbol of wild magic itself.
And Jaga's spellbook is the key.
Yeah.
It is valuable to Agnieszka precisely because it contains untidy spells that come to her like eager friends.
Sarkin, the man of meticulous systems, realizes Jaga plainly used it only to jog her memory. It has no details of real spell work. It lacks the control structures he depends on.
And this is why Agnieszka thrives on it. She doesn't need the precise instructions. She needs the emotional and energetic framework. She uses her intuition to fill in the necessary power, the rhythm, and the emotional context.
Jaga's legacy provides the structure for feeling the magic, not simply controlling it. And this discovery is the source of her radical new approach that will change the war.
The deep dive now expands beyond the localized danger of the valley to the capital and the politics of Polnia.
Right, where the dragon is despised and the true enemy is revealed to be a deep-seated, insidious corruption at the very heart of the royal family.
And this expansion is driven by Agnieszka's sheer loyalty. She's determined to find her friend, Kasia, who had been snatched by walkers and entombed within a heart tree deep inside the wood.
When Sarkin finally manages to bring Kasia back, she looks normal, but the dragon sees the truth.
He sees thick green shadows, mottled like deep layers of leaves on leaves, pulsing beneath her skin.
This visible, deep corruption forces a profound moment of vulnerability for the seemingly invincible dragon. He is immediately ready to kill Kasia to prevent the spread.
And why?
Because of his past failure. He confesses his own heartbreaking history. 20 years prior, he had loved a woman, Ludmila, the Countess of the Yellow Marshes, whose husband was corrupted by the wood.
Sarkin tried desperately to save him, but failed.
And he had to entomb him in the cellar, which explains why his tower has a stone tomb at its base. That was his first great wound.
This is a huge piece of context. It confirms Sarkin had failed to cure deep corruption once before. He views it as incurable.
Right. It necessitates immediate execution to protect the many. This past failure led him to the grim, rational assumption that Kasia, too, was irrevocably lost. It also humanizes him. His coldness stems from trauma and failure.
Right, as this internal conflict peaks, the external conflict arrives. Prince Merrick, the king's son, arrives with the falcon, Solja.
Another powerful, high-ranking wizard, a wizard who represents the establishment and codified power outside of Sarkin's control.
And they seek vengeance against the despised dragon and want the rescue of Queen Hannah, Merrick's mother, who has been trapped in the wood for 20 years.
Merrick presents himself as the perfect hero, described as handsome as a portrait, but he is quickly revealed to be dark, hypocritical, and egotistical. This is where the tension explodes.
Merrick attempts to sexually assault Agnieszka, believing she is just one of the dragon's beauties procured for whoredom,
propagating the very rumor that traumatized Agnieszka and the previous girls.
It's shocking. And it's critical that Agnieszka's defense is not magical.
No, it's brute force and common sense. Agnieszka defends herself with whatever is immediately at hand, a chamber pot and a tray.
She bludgeons Merrick unconscious with enough force to dent the metal tray.
It's a massive commentary. Sometimes the most effective defense against hypocrisy and entitlement is simple, immediate physical force, not a complex spell.
And Sarkin reacts with pure political expediency. He has to use powerful magic and noxious yellow elixir to heal Merrick quickly.
Because he fears that the death of the king's son, even if justified by self-defense, would be treated as treason against the crown, which would justify an all-out military assault on his tower.
So, with Merrick temporarily incapacitated, the Falcon and Merrick then test Kasia,
who Agnieszka had already begun the process of purging using the summoning spell.
a truly terrifying piece of magic described as difficult, needing shared work and demanding a deep mental connection.
And Kasia is found to be clean of the wood's corruption, but unnaturally strong, made of wood, proving that Agnieszka's unorthodox intuitive magic had accomplished what Sarkin's stringent methods had deemed impossible.
Let's talk about that summoning spell, because it is the core tool of Agnieszka's power. It's used to locate the queen, but it's so much more than a tracking charm.
Oh, much more.
Agnieszka finds that during the working, the words flow easily like a river, creating an intense, unwanted mental connection with Kasia, and later, the wood itself.
This connection forces Agnieszka to perform intense emotional labor. She sees profound, unwanted emotional truths in Kasia, not just her terror of being chosen.
But her resentment.
Her subsequent, deeply buried resentment and jealousy after Agnieszka was taken and returned with silk, money, and magic, having failed to be the hero herself. The magic exposes the complexity of human emotion that the wood preys upon.
It's a spell of emotional intimacy. It demands absolute honesty.
That's a crucial development. Agnieszka learns she can't just fight the external enemy, she has to heal the internal wounds first.
The summoning ultimately leads the heroes to the queen. But Sarkin, scarred by his history, warns Merrick of the coming horror. The queen has lived 20 years in the worst torment the wood can devise.
He knows she will be fundamentally, horrifyingly changed, and this tension, Merrick's idealistic hope versus Sarkin's grim reality, fuels the impending war.
The struggle now escalates into open warfare at Sarkhan's tower.
The siege. And it reviews not only the raw military might arrayed against the dragon, but that the wood's influence extends deep into the capital and even corrupts the very tools of magical defense.
The battle is immediately brutal. Sarkhan shifts immediately from scholar to military engineer. He uses these massive, powerful earth spells, Fulmadesh, Fulmishtat, to raise colossal, temporary walls of stone and earth around the tower to fend off Merrick's army.
His codified magic is devastating when applied to large-scale defense and destruction.
And when the breach occurs, he employs a horrifying ancient form of magic to defend the gap.
Necromancy.
Necromancy. He raises the corpses in the trenches, emphasizing that all the dead serve the dragon spell to stop Merrick's advance.
And the source material emphasizes how profoundly chilling this sight is. These dead soldiers didn't bleed, they were blank-faced and utterly uninterested in their attackers, simply grasping the living.
That's a truly visceral moment. Sarkhan is often portrayed as morally superior to the corrupt nobles, but his willingness to employ necromancy, reanimating the very people he is supposed to protect, shows how absolute his strategy of defense through annihilation is.
He will stop at nothing, no matter the magical cost or moral line.
Meanwhile, the attackers, led by the Falcon, Solia, use highly effective, weaponized magic.
Yeah, this showcases the kingdom's specialized magical engineering. Solia throws powerful arrow flights with arrowheads forged by Alosha, another renowned wizard.
And these arrows were specifically enchanted to find their way to flesh.
Right. Demonstrating the complexity of weaponized magic in Polnya, Sarkhan and Agnieszka are forced to spend massive amounts of energy constantly deflecting these projectiles, fighting not just metal, but Alosha's sheer will and determination hammered into the steel.
But the physical battle distracts from the true, insidious threat.
The real war.
The source material confirms that the wood's influence is pervasive, extending beyond the valley into the highest halls of the kingdom. Agnieszka discovers a book in the king's library, the Bestiaire, whose monsters feel terrifyingly real as she reads them. This book, steeped in corruption, was a trap.
This wasn't just a book of monsters, it was a vector of infection. Reading it could have corrupted her mind and turned her into one of the wood's agents.
A subtle, devastating method of attack.
Exactly. Aimed at neutralizing powerful magic users in the capital without firing a single shot. This level of planning confirms the wood is being guided by a truly intelligent strategic malice.
And this discovery reveals the wood's grand strategy.
It does. It seeks to start a massive, distracting war between Ponia and Rosia, diverting military resources and weakening both kingdoms while the wood itself grows stronger, unchecked.
That's the key geopolitical insight. The wood isn't fighting a border skirmish, it's executing a global strategy.
Evidence of this plan includes the corrupted bestiaire in the king's library, the coordinated attack on the royal family's princess and children, and the discovery of Rosian uniforms planted on the attackers at the castle, designed to frame the neighboring kingdom.
And Merrick, driven by ego and trauma over his mother's disappearance, is unwittingly playing the wood's long game, seeking the throne through costly, distracting war.
He's a pawn.
Completely. The discovery of the queen is the climax of this political and physical battle. During the final working of the summoning inside the besieged tower, Agnieszka realizes the horrifying ultimate truth about Queen Hanna.
She's not simply corrupted?
No. Agnieszka recognizes the truth her intuition reveals. She's been taken by the wood. It was the only thing there.
Her physical state is monstrously described. Her golden hair is revealed to be the pale veins of leaves. Her limbs are now branches and her toes are long roots crawling out over the floor.
The wood itself has inhabited her entirely, using her as a puppet, turning her personal misery into a weapon.
And she immediately turns towards the hidden tomb in Sarkhan's tower, confirming the Wood Queen's animating power was connected to Sarkhan's old failure, the man he had entombed 20 years prior. The misery feeds on itself.
The final climactic confrontation brings together the tools of warfare and destruction. Kachija, the newly strengthened warrior, uses Alosha's specially crafted sword blade that can kill anything.
The ultimate weapon.
To stab the Wood Queen in the throat. The sword is supposed to be the absolute ultimate weapon against the wood.
And it fails. The sword sticks and drinks, but the Wood Queen doesn't die in any traditional sense. Instead, she escapes, boiling away as torrents of pale white smoke that Solia covers his head to avoid, leaving behind an inert, charred corpse.
So the weapon designed to annihilate anything proved useless.
Useless against a consciousness rooted in pure, overwhelming misery and despair. This failure is the ultimate proof that Sarkhan's and the codified wizard's methods of control and annihilation are fundamentally wrong for this enemy.
The failure of the ultimate blade leads us to the final critical insight gained from the past.
Right, which shifts Agnieszka's strategy completely, from mere defense and attack to a radical, intuitive form of healing.
Following the catastrophic battle and the Queen's escape, Agnieszka, wounded and exhausted, is carried by Cassia out of the shattered tower.
And in her vulnerable state, the Wood Queen's consciousness, fueled by rage, drags Agnieszka into the wood's heart, where she relives the past through the eyes of Lanaya, the Raven the Witch, who guarded the wood before Sarkhan.
This journey reveals the profound historical trauma that created the wood.
Yes.
Lanaya was actually Queen Hana's sister. The original Queen Hana, Lanaya's sister, was taken by men, not the wood, and imprisoned in the old tower by her hard-faced husband, who later became king, to protect the kingdom's magical secret.
So the wood, therefore, was not originally malice. It was a response to profound human betrayal and imprisonment.
Lanaya, unable to save her sister from the tyranny of the crown, chose a different way out for herself and the people of the old tower who sought peace.
And we witness this transformation in Lanaya's grove. The wounded and weary wood people change. They consume the tree fruit and drink the water, taking root and becoming great, beautiful gray pillars with silver branches spreading.
And this transformation is explicitly described not as corruption but as peace. Lanaya confirms that Sarkhan's containment strategy, diverting the wood's power into 1,000 streams, was never sustainable. She tells Agnieszka, "We decided that we would rather not remember."
Explaining that fighting and holding on to the wrong things, their history of betrayal, their own rage and fear, would lead them to become corrupted by their own wrath, just as the vengeful Queen Hana had.
This is the massive pivot. Agnieszka realizes the wood is not an external tide to be held back or a physical monster to be killed.
It is a living, wounded entity.
Yes, its continuing destructive rage being the unending wrath of the corrupted Queen Hana, fueled by centuries of unaddressed misery and betrayal. The war is a disease of unhealed trauma.
So if the enemy is misery, then the radical new plan must be a cure.
They must stop simply trying to hold the wood back or kill it, a strategy that failed spectacularly even with Alosha's ultimate blade. They must target the misery at its core.
Agnieszka uses Sarkhan's channeled power, the very magic he was using to keep the wood at bay, to row a boat up the Spindle River deep into the wood's heart.
A journey Sarkhan would never have considered safe, let alone effective.
Not in a million years.
And the ultimate goal is profoundly simple, yet revolutionary: to calm and ease the trapped souls caught inside the corrupted heart trees.
She uses the spindle water, which Sarkhan had previously channeled for healing and magical work, and her intuition-driven magic, which now works effortlessly in the wood's depths, to help the trees straighten up and drop their poisonous blooms, allowing the trapped souls to find peace.
She doesn't fight the wood.
She cures its internal trauma.
The outcome establishes a new normal. The wood recedes, the struggle continues, but its nature has fundamentally changed from active, vengeful malice to something calmer and contained.
And Agnieszka, now fully recognized as a wizard and a fixture in the community, begins making regular visits to the villages, letting people get used to her untidy, non-codified presence.
And Sarkhan, the proud, isolated dragon who feared being restricted and rooted, performs the ultimate symbolic act of acceptance during the harvest festival.
He finally steps down into the village green, looking perfectly improbable in his grand clothes.
Signaling that he is finally ready to accept roots in the valley he protects. He is shifted from distant lord to a connected, albeit still terrifying man.
Meanwhile, Agnieszka meets a young Rosen girl with a spark of magic. Instead of following the king's law, which would demand she be taken for strict, codified training,
she simply offers, "Come and find me." The lesson has been fully learned. The future of magic relies on trust and intuition, not control and fear.
So if we connect this narrative to the bigger picture, this deep dive shows us that perceived incompetence or untidiness, like Agnieszka's messy, song-based, intuitive magic, can be an insurmountable strength when facing systems built on codified rigidity, like Sarkhan's cold, clockwork-like sorcery.
Yeah.
Agnieszka's magic, rooted in intimacy, rhythm, and feeling, was the only thing that could penetrate the wood's corruption, while the grand analytical wizardry of the codified practitioners failed.
Absolutely. We saw Sarkhan try to build higher walls to annihilate the threat, using everything from earth spells to necromancy, but the wood always found a way around or through his controlled systems.
Always.
The most astonishing realization here is the true nature of the war itself. It was internal, not external. The wood wasn't just a force of nature. It was the physical manifestation of deep emotional trauma and unresolved resentment. From the failure to save the corrupted husband to the unending wrath of Queen Hannah the Wood Queen and even Kisia's secret jealousy.
Sarkhan's solution was a fortress.
And Agnieszka's was an open heart and a willingness to step into the darkness to heal what was broken. She didn't win by fighting, she won by curing.
This raises an important question for you to consider. In your own life, whether you are tackling an organizational crisis, a deeply entrenched technical problem, or a personal difficulty, are you relying on the established, codified dragon strategy of building higher walls and perfecting complex systems based on control and external annotations? Or are you willing to look for the Agnieszka solution, the messy, intuitive method that addresses the roots of the problem, the underlying trauma or misalignment, even if it forces you to become someone you didn't expect and discard established wisdom?
A great final thought.
Yeah.
And for those who want to know more about the creative mind behind this world, our sources confirm the author is Naomi Novik, who also wrote the Temeraire series and is one of the founding board members of the Organization for Transformative Works.
A nonprofit dedicated to protecting the fair use rights of fan creators.
Exactly. She was raised on Polish fairy tales and Baba Yaga, which explains the wonderfully rich and complex mythological influences and the powerful use of regional language and concepts we found throughout this narrative.
It's all in there.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the Valley of Polnia. We'll see you next time.